So you're watching this video because you've been going up and up pretty consistently, but then you just flatline, which is pretty relatable. But you don't need to tell you that just giving up isn't really the answer. Like, no, really, I shouldn't just give up. This is exactly what you should do to start making progress again. So what if I give you infinite shoeboxes, and I give you 10 seconds to put the tallest tower possible? It's like some crazy Mr. Beast thing, you get like $1 million, right? So what would you do? You would just stack them one on top of another because you only have 10 seconds, right? But then I give you 10 minutes. You'd probably make a wider foundation and taper it off to the top. It'd be a little bit taller, right? But it'd also be way more sturdy. Then I give you a week, and you get glue, you make a massive foundation, and then you taper it off towards the top. It's even taller and way more stable. But the point of this is that every time you make the foundation bigger. Why? Because you know subconsciously that is the most important part. The foundation is what holds up everything else. It's what allows you to make the progress, to make the tower. So why, when you trace your goals, that every time you try and go from point A to point B as fast as possible, you're just like the 10-second tower. You're bound to collapse, and then you wonder why you can't put another box on top, why you can't keep making progress, because you have no foundation. And so obviously you want to build a foundation first, right? But clearly you didn't do that, so you can still build it now. Like, the best opportunity was 7 years ago, the second best is now. Like whatever that quote says, right? So you can still build a foundation now. And what is a foundation? Like, a foundation is just the basics of whatever you want to achieve. So you want to get better at studying or something. You want to go from C's to A's, make an academic comeback. So you're going to build your foundation, which would just be studying basics, like learning how to study effectively and just getting consistent with studying, getting better at studying, just like building the basic habits. So one way you can find out like what the basics are is just ask yourself, if when you were starting this habit, like what parts of it, what habits could you have started then that would give you more progress now? Like, that's actually pretty deep. Like, what could you have done then that would give you a really high like return on investment now? Like in the gym, I could have just started with good form instead of having to like correct it. Like, my bicep curls used to just be like this, like I was literally just like jacking off with weight. And now I have to like actually try and get like full range of motion or whatever. I could have just started with the right form and I wouldn't have had to go through this process. That's the foundation. Now you have a foundation, which is great. But even when you have a foundation, you can still flatline sometimes. And you might be like me and just get really pissed off and be like, screw this, I'm locking in, I swear. But even that doesn't work. Even if you actually lock in, it wouldn't work. Why? Because nothing changes if nothing changes. So you have to change things. So I want you to imagine that you have plants. Or maybe you actually do have plants like me. And you want them to grow. So you do all the foundation things, you get a nice pot, and you research about it, you make sure you're doing everything right. And you start watering it every day. So you should be set up for success. But then it starts to rot. Oh no, I'm doing everything right, but my plant's still rotting. I know this sounds like an analogy, but this is actually like a real story in my life. I got a plant for my birthday, and I wanted it to actually grow. So I put it in the sun, I did like research, I got a pot and stuff, and I was watering it like as much as it said to. But it like actually started rotting, like it was like melting in the sun. So I moved it away, and that's when it started to get better. Nothing changed until I changed something. If I would have just kept watering it, it would have gotten worse. So there's that quote again, like nothing changes if nothing changes. So you can kind of view this as like, every time you feel like you're flatlining, every time you feel like you're flatlining, you've just run into an obstacle. But if you're always changing things up, then you're constantly dodging obstacles. And that stops you from flatlining. You need to have an arsenal of new ideas. Like, if you think about the most consistent people who seem to look like this, Like, they never even flatline out, they just go straight consistent. Well, they're just really great problem solvers. And the best way to solve problems fast is to already have the solution, because you can just plug it in. So like, I kind of already talked about how to like dodge obstacles with trying new things. But the hidden benefit of that is that when an obstacle does slow you down, when you do run into an obstacle that you didn't just dodge around, which is inevitable, right? It's going to happen sometime. Then you have this arsenal of new ideas. You have different options you can choose. But Channing, like, everybody tells me to just keep working on the same thing. Like, eventually I'll make progress, right, if I just keep working on the same thing and don't try anything new. Well, do I look like everyone else? No, and you shouldn't either, because that's the mainstream advice. The mainstream advice is just keep doing what you're doing. But is the mainstream result progress? I didn't think so. Like, maybe you can prove me wrong, but I don't think so. So you need to try new things. When you have like all these weapons to select from, then you just have like a new idea you can plug in and see if that works. That is how you move around these obstacles. That's how you break flat lines so fast it doesn't even look like you got into one. So everyone will say, keep trying. But I say, keep changing. Bars. Shit, okay. Make it happen. This was actually a crazy video, bro. Like, crazy good. Crazy? I was crazy once. I couldn't be in a room. Okay, I'm gonna have dinner. Or at least see if it's ready.